fifth grade students, it's Mr. Slappy again with another lesson. Today we're going to be learning how to convert metric units. This is a continuation from Tuesday's lesson, which was converting customary units. That is still 5.md.1.1, convert among different size measurement units within a given measurement system. All right, so I went ahead and listed out your units of measurements for metric conversion. So 1 meter equals 100 centimeters, 1 meter equals 1,000 milliliters, 1 kilometer equals 1,000 meters, and so forth. So I believe sometime next week, you should have one of these in your modules, which is your grade 5 FSA mathematics reference sheet. You should print this so that you can have in front of you at all times when you're trying to convert units of measurement. So I'm going to put this down, because I'm going to use what I listed out so that you can actually see this. And how I listed it out is how we're going to actually convert. Let's get started. So the first thing you should know when converting, especially within the metric system, that it's based off of the power of 10. So we either are going to be multiplying or dividing by powers of 10. So that's why when you say, oh, I'm going to move my decimal 1 or 2 places to the right, or I'm going to move my decimal 1 or 2 places to the left, that's because you're multiplying and dividing by a power of 10. So that could be you multiplying it by 100, or you're multiplying it by 1,000, or you're dividing it by 10. So in our case, we're either going to be multiplying by 100, we're either going to be multiplying by 1,000, or dividing by 10. Just all depends on what our questions are. All right, let's get going. So if I said that 1 meter equals 100 centimeters, again, I'm just referencing back. I just so happen to know that conversion. And 1 meter equals 1,000 millimeters. It's really a pattern just to prove to you that, we're multiplying by 100, or we're multiplying by 1,000, or we're dividing by 10. 1 times what gave me 100? It's a pattern. 1 times 100 gave me 100. 1 times what gave me 1,000? Well, 1 times 1,000 gave me 1,000. Again, powers of 10, either multiplying or dividing by 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, but powers of 10. So if I took that same example and I said to you, okay, well, Mr. Slappy, what if I had 1 7/10 of a meter? What would be the equivalent in centimeters? Well, again, I would say to you, if I go back to my conversion chart, 1 meter equals 100 centimeters, and that means that whatever I did, I multiplied that by 100. So if I multiply 1 7/10 by 100, I should get 170. So 1 7/10 is equivalent to 170 centimeters. Well, how did you get that? Well, Mr. Slappy, I saw that you moved that decimal place 2 places to the right, which gave you 170. That's exactly what I did. But to prove to you that by moving the decimal that you're actually multiplying or dividing by powers of 10, I will do the math and do the work for you. So 100 times 1 7/10. So I'm going to kind of pause for a moment. And I forgot to mention, as a reminder from last week's lesson, the same rules apply. If I'm going from a bigger unit of measurement to a smaller unit of measurement, I am going to multiply. If I'm going to go from a smaller unit of measurement to a larger unit of measurement, I'm going to divide. So here I'm going from a larger unit of measurement to a smaller unit of measurement, so therefore I multiply by 100. That's why we said move the decimal place 2 places to the right. But if I multiply this, you can follow along, and I know that I'm not kind of 1 times 0 is 0, 1 times 0 is 0, 1 times 1 is 1. Let's see if I get the same answer. 0, 0, 7, 1. The decimal place is here. 170. We got the same answer. Simply multiply by 100. That same thing as moving your decimal 2 places to the right. So if I want to know the equivalents in millimeters, so how many decimal places should I move this? How many place value? How many places should I move this? 3. So if I move this 3 places to the right, 1, 2, 3, my answer would be 1,700. So 1 7/10 of a meter is equivalent to 1,700 millimeters. Again, multiplying by powers of 10, the same thing as moving your, that's why we're moving our decimal place. So let's do something a little different. So far we talked about going from a larger unit of measurement to a smaller unit of measurement, so you know that we multiply. But what if we're going from a smaller unit of measurement to a larger unit of measurement? So here's my question. 3 5/10 millimeter is equivalent or equals how many centimeters? Well, the first thing I would do is I would take out my handy dandy reference sheet. I would look at it and try to find that conversion. Well, it's not here. I don't have a conversion for that. I do not have 3 millimeters to centimeters. So similar to last week, well, how can we solve that? Well, with metric system, it's just a little bit different. Okay, I mean, there are ways that we can solve this, but if you look at my chart, I do have that because 1 meter is equivalent to 100 centimeters. 1 meter is also equivalent to 1,000 millimeters. So therefore, 100 centimeters is also equivalent to 1,000 millimeters. I have that. But the difference is that we need to figure out, I'm going from a larger to smaller, a smaller unit of measurement to a larger unit of measurement. If I compare the two and I said, okay, well, what am I, you said before, Mrs. Slap, I'm going from a smaller to a larger, I need to divide. So I'm dividing, what am I dividing by? Well, 1,000 is 10 times less than 100. 100 is 100 is 10 times less than 1,000. So this would be divided by 10. Divided by 10. Again, 100 is 10 times less than 1,000. It's 10 times less than 1,000 because we are going from a smaller unit of measurement to a larger unit of measurement. So if it's 10 times less, that means that I need to move my decimal place 1 place to the left. So my answer would be 35 hundredths of a centimeter. I can write another one. I can say, using the same example, 1 7/10 of a millimeter is equal to how many centimeters. Again, I don't have that conversion, but what I do know is that going from a smaller unit of measurement to a larger unit of measurement, I need to divide. And if I'm going to divide, that means that I have to see what the equivalent is, or I need to know what am I dividing it by. Well, I know that 100 is 10 times less than that 100. So if it's 10 times less, if I'm using powers of 10, going from a smaller to a larger, I divide. I am dividing by 10. So I'm dividing by 10. I'm going to move my decimal place one place to the left. 17 hundredths of a centimeter. Well, I'm hoping that this helped you out. This just gives you a preview of what you're really going to be learning, and your teacher is actually going to be the one that's going to give you probably a more detailed lesson. But this is just to get you started. But as always, if you have any questions, please let me know, and I will reach out to you. Or your teacher probably is your first line of defense, but I'm always available. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.